Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel, thank you. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Battle Through the Heavens based on novel. So let's start. You wish to enter the bottom of the blazing sky chi refining tower. Su Qian's hand movement immediately paused when he heard Xiao Yan's request. He raised his head and revealed a stunned face. Su Qian also had some brief contact with the world at the bottom of the tower. That place was basically void of life. A place where hot magma randomly flowed, emitting various sulfur smells. Even the energy there was filled with wild violence. An ordinary person could not escape from such an environment fast enough. Who would have expected Xiao Yan to take the initiative to request to enter it? It was unavoidable that Su Qian would lose himself in such a manner. Xiao Yang smiled in an embarrassed manner when he saw Su Qian's appearance. He rubbed his head and said, I have ST'd for a period of time at that place and know a little about the situation there. Although that place is unusually wild and violent, the fire affinity energy it contains is extremely pure. It does not lose to some energy-filled caves in the world. Moreover, the wildness and violence within the energy does not pose any threat to me. That place is the birthplace of the fallen heart flame. Currently, the fallen heart flame has been completely refined by me, hence I should not face any problems. Su Qian frowned slightly upon hearing this. He placed the calligraphy brush in his hand down, mused for a moment before lifting his head, and looked at Xiao Yang's expression. He could only nod his head and say, all right, since you insist on this request, I shall do as you say. However, I have to warn you beforehand that the magma world is not as calm as you have imagined. If anything not quite right occurs, you should hurry back. I will arrange for some elders of the inner academy to guard the entrance at all times. Thank you very much, First Elder. Xiao Yang immediately rejoiced, smiled, and responded when he saw Su Qian nodding his head in agreement. You little fellow. You are always unable to abide by the rules. Su Qian shook his head and sighed. He stood up from his chair and headed out of the study. Xiao Yang followed close behind. After exiting the study, Xiao Yang and Su Qian slowly walked out of the elders' area. They walked for some time in the inner academy before entering the blazing sky chi refining tower, which had a large section protruding from the ground. Xiao Yang involuntarily felt a kind of sobbing feeling as he once again entered this blazing sky chi refining tower after a couple of years. Back then, when he had stepped in this place for the first time, he had been merely a little novice who had just entered the inner academy. Now, however, he could be barely considered to have entered the expert level. At the very least, the number of people in the Black Corner region who could compare with him in fighting strength could be counted on one's fingers. Currently, the blazing sky chi refining tower had lost the human traffic that came and went due to the heart flame being exhausted. Only a few human figures existed in the enormous space. At this moment, most of those who were still training in this place liked its serene silence. Of course, there was one other factor. Regardless of how one put it, the fire affinity energy of the blazing sky chi refining tower was much denser than that in the outside world. After all, the enormous magma world under it was always emitting powerful fire energy. Although this energy was isolated by the thousands of feet of thick ground, some of it still managed to reach here. Hence, the current blazing sky chi refining tower was considered a decent training area for quite a number of students who practiced fire affinity chi methods. Xiao Yang and Su Qian did not stay in the first level for long. After roughly taking a look at it, the two of them headed to the bottom of the tower. They also met quite a number of students training in this place along the way. When these people saw Xiao Yang and Su Qian, all of them hurriedly greeted the two of them. Currently, the position of Xiao Yang in the hearts of these students was very high. His battle with the old ground demon Ghostback then had completely subdued everyone. Without anyone stopping them, Xiao Yang and Su Qian appeared at the lowest level of the blazing sky chi refining tower after around 10+ minutes. Due to the eruption of the fallen heart flame back then, the door of the lowest level had remained firmly locked. After the fallen heart flame was subdued by Xiao Yang, this bottom level's defenses were no longer as tight as they had been in the past, but the door still never opened, remaining sealed until today. Although the absence of the fallen heart flame has brought about inconveniences, it, at the very least, has allowed one to feel much more at ease. In the past, there had always been the need to worry that it would suddenly erupt one day, causing one to feel distraught. Su Qian opened the large metal lock on the metal door, as he turned his head to Xiao Yang and continued with a smile. Therefore you being able to subdue that thing can also be considered as saving us from trouble. Xiao Yang nodded silently when he heard this. He understood that Su Qian's words were an attempt to not be bothered about the matter of him subduing the fallen heart flame of the inner academy. Xiao Yang's heart was immediately slightly moved. He smiled and said, "First Elder, relax. I will do my best to help the Blazing Sky Refining Tower create a heart flame that will never be extinguished." Xiao Yang and Su Qian walked to the deep hole. As they came closer, the surrounding air became hotter. The fire affinity energy contained within also became increasingly pure and violent. When the footsteps of the two people paused at the deep hole in the middle, the hot energy that came pouncing over nearly caused Su Qian to feel a slight searing pain. He did not practice a fire affinity chi method. Hence, this kind of dense singular energy was not enjoyable to him. Xiao Yang inhaled a deep breath with all his might as he stood beside the hole. A wave of hot energy followed his nose and entered his body. Finally, it flowed within his body and caused him to swiftly become fiery hot. Xiao Yang did not know if it was an illusion, but the fallen heart flame within his body had appeared much more lively at this moment. Xiao Yang extended his head as his gaze swept over the interior of the deep hole. A bright redness entered his eyes. A hot aura spat out of the hole, appearing as lively as a volcano. There was still quite a long distance from the entrance to the magma, but even with such a gap the hot aura remained powerful without weakening. Studying the deep hole, Xiao Yang rolled his throat slightly. A joy that was difficult to hide was emitted from within his dark black eyes. This was definitely a training treasure ground for Xiao Yang. If he were able to train for a period of time in this place, his strength would significantly advance. Since you are confident that you can train here, I shall not stop you. Xinlan will leave after a good period of time. Thus, you still have plenty of time to train. Hence, you need not be anxious, so take your time. Although one would decline if one does not advance when it came to training, one should do it according to one's capabilities. One will fail to achieve anything if one is too anxious. Su Qian smiled and spoke after seeing Xiao Yang's joyful manner. "Yes. I will help you inform your second brother, the little fairy doctor, and the rest about the matter regarding you training in this place. I will also ask them not to worry. I will dispatch a few elders who practices fire affinity chi methods here later on. If any unexpected changes were to happen, they will be the first to be aware. Thank you very much, First Elder." Xiao Yang smiled slightly and nodded after knowing Su Qian would arrange everything properly. Su Qian waved his hand and said, "Why are you still so courteous to me? Now, you can enter and give it a try. I will help stand guard by the side for a moment. If any accident were to happen, you should send a signal, and I will head down to rescue you." Xiao Yang once again nodded. His gaze immediately turned to the deep hole where one could not see an end. He inhaled a deep breath and clenched his teeth. Without hesitating, his body moved and leaped in. An exclamation was suddenly emitted from Xiao Yang's mouth the instant he jumped into the deep hole. An instant earlier, he seemed to have faintly sensed an extremely faint, unknown summoning feeling from far below. Xiao Yang continued down for a while before his eyes suddenly widened. At this moment, the thing that appeared in front of him was a magma world that was vast and seemed to be endless. The large bright red magma pool emitted a hot energy that caused one to feel asphyxia. Even though one was near it, the hot air caused one to have difficulty enduring on. Enormous bubbles surged out of the magma and appeared on the surface. Finally, they burst apart one at a time. Waves of hot air, accompanied by white smoke, spread from them. The vapor that originated from deep underground possessed a shocking heat and a smell that made one uncomfortable. It was rumored that this kind of vapor contained a kind of fire poison that would cause one quite a lot of trouble if one absorbed it into one's body. A thought passed through Xiao Yang's heart as his jade-like bone wings slowly spread from his back. The wings gently flapped and stabilized his body above the magma world. Xiao Yang's gaze cautiously swept around him as his body remained suspended in mid-air. This magma world was the same as it was when he had left it back then. It was deadly silent and did not contain the slightest hint of life aura. All it had was the slight reverberating sound of the magma bubble exploding, which caused this place to be even quieter. The magma was extremely viscous, so it would usually not form any magma waves. In any case, everything in this place gave one a silent feeling. If one were to live in this place for a long time, it was likely that one's character would become strange and withdrawn. It was fortunate that Xiao Yang had descended into a near-death state back then, and had been unaware of the situation in the outside world. Otherwise, those few years would have been difficult to endure. Xiao Yang felt somewhat relieved when he thought of this. After an investigation, in which he did not discover anything wrong, he finally flapped his bone wings and came to a spot beside the mountain wall. He drew his heavy Xian ruler, and his wrist moved rapidly. Rock fragments flew and a 10-foot-large hole swiftly appeared in the tough mountain wall. Xiao Yang easily created a small cave where he could rest with the help of the high temperature of the glazed lotus flame. After doing all of this, Xiao Yan did not immediately land on the magma and practice the six-joint body flowing ruler. Instead, he sat down cross-legged within the mountain cave and gradually shut his eyes. After which, he entered his training state. Following Xiao Yang's entrance into his training condition, the surrounding space immediately began to intensely fluctuate. Bright red energy that could be seen with the naked eye surged in all directions. Finally, all of it fought to rush into Xiao Yang's body. It is fortunate that I was prepared, Xiao Yang smiled after musing for a moment. He flicked his hand and a cluster of jade-green flames rose. Finally, the cluster completely covered his hand. Xiao Yang used his other hand to flick his finger when the flame appeared. A couple of items appeared in front of him. Finally, under his control, these items were left suspended in mid-air. These few items belonged to the category of medicinal ingredients and their bodies emitted some chillness. At one glance and one could tell that these medicinal ingredients either contained ice-type or water-type energy. Xiao Yang's eyes gave a random glance before waving his hand. A couple of cold affinity medicinal ingredients landed into it. The current him was a genuine tier 6 alchemist. If he were to refine an ordinary medicinal pill, he would be able to do it like Yao Lao, where he used his palm as a cauldron and refined the ingredients as he desired. Under the control of Xiao Yang's spiritual strength, the few kinds of cold affinity medicinal ingredients were swiftly refined. A cold, thick white liquid slowly surfaced. This time around, Xiao Yang was not refining a medicinal pill. Instead, the items were just things to help with one's training. It was just like some of the things Yao Lao had refined to help him train when he had first headed out back then. Hence, this did not consume too much time. After merely 10 minutes or so, the impurities within the pool of cold liquid were completely expelled. A crystal clear, cold liquid lingered within the flame. Xiao Yang flipped his hand and a small jade bottle appeared. After which, he tilted the bottle and some cold, bright red liquid blood flowed out. Finally, it fell into the flame and merged with the other cold liquid. Following the merger of the two, the color of the liquid also changed. After the grilling by the glazed lotus heart flame, a thick, pale white liquid was finally formed. Coldness radiated out of it, blocking the surrounding hot temperature. Seeing the successful refinement, the jade-green flame on Xiao Yang's hand also gradually scattered. He beckoned with his finger and the faint white, viscous liquid fell into a jade bottle. After completing this refinement, Xiao Yang swiftly removed his clothes and poured the cold liquid over his body, covering every inch of it. An ice-cold feeling immediately covered his body when the cold liquid was scattered over it. His originally fiery, hot skin swiftly turned ice-cold. Under that coldness, even Xiao Yang could not help but involuntarily shiver. After which, he once again crossed his legs and sat on the ground. While the chillness was still dense, he entered his training state. Training was originally an extremely bitter matter. If one wanted to obtain a strength that an ordinary person had difficulty matching, one must put in an effort that others had difficulty reaching. There would never be strength that came for no reason in this world. This point was something that Xiao Yang, who experienced many things, had long learned. Hence, even though he knew that training in this place was extremely tough, he still chose to do it without hesitation. Xiao Yang finally began to practice the six-joint body flowing ruler, after familiarizing with the magma world for an entire day. The environment in this place was really perfect when it was used for training. The initial training was naturally the hardest. Since the six-joint body flowing ruler was of a high class, it was difficult to practice. However, it was fortunate that Xiao Yang's training talent was unique. Additionally, he had the spiritual imprint within the scroll to teach him, allowing him to save quite a number of detours in his training. Hence, after bitterly training for a couple of days in the magma world and undergoing many dangers of the magma touching his body, he had gradually gained a simple understanding. He was already able to reach this stage when he displayed it. Although there was still a large distance to successfully mastering it, being able to reach such a level within a short few days was already extremely good. As long as Xiao Yang was given sufficient time, an initial mastery of the six-joint body flowing ruler was not an impossible matter. The deathly quiet magma world was void of any concept of time. However, Xiao Yang also knew that it had been around 10 days since he had entered this place. He had gained quite a lot during these 10 days. Not only had his strength been firmly stabilized at the 5-star Do Huang level, but he was even more familiar with the six-joint body-flowing ruler. Moreover, following this period of adaptation, Xiao Yan also became more and more comfortable with this magma world. After this adaptation, the mysterious summoning feeling that Xiao Yan had faintly sensed when he had arrived once again appeared. This time around, his senses were even clearer. After a careful investigation, he was surprised to realize that the summoning target seemed to be the fallen heart flame in his body. A low, deep sound suddenly appeared in this quiet magma world. Immediately, the viscous magma seemed to be stirred by something as it began to furiously rise and fall. An enormous magma fire wave whistled and rose before finally falling down, shooting out a magma flow in all directions while emitting a loud bang. A human figure stood on the magma, under the whistling of the magma's fire wave. His body was naked and a layer of white, viscous liquid covered his exposed skin. At this moment, his hand was holding a large, heavy ruler while he danced swiftly. Numerous profound arcs formed. Following the dancing of the heavy ruler, a continuous ruler figure swiftly spread out and enshrouded his entire body. The magma that landed with a bang was swiftly being reflected aside when it made contact with the ruler figure that was like a dragnet. The ruler figures were dense as they danced, appearing to have superimposed on each other by an unknown number. They blocked the incoming magma flow without allowing it to enter. This dense defense really left one speechless. A heavy magma fire wave landed with a bang and shot out, forming a magma flow that permeated the air. After which, it slowly calmed down. The human figure, who stood on the magma, also panted heavily and slowly stopped the ruler figure's dancing. When the final ruler figure disappeared, it revealed a young man's face. This face was filled with some excitement and tiredness. It was Xiao Yang, who had entered the magma world to train. Xiao Yang's heavy ruler ceased dancing. He wiped the perspiration off his forehead. The kind of momentum needed when a 10-foot large magma wave smashed down was terrifying. It really forced one to focus all of one's attention. Otherwise, should that hot magma flow land on one's body, it was likely that one's flesh would immediately turn into grilled meat. Xiao Yang ceased his training. Only then did he sense the waves of numbness that were transmitted from his hand. He lowered his head and glanced at the heavy Xian ruler, only to see that it was covered with magma. The hot temperature followed the ruler's body and spread, causing his hand to be fiery hot. However, it was fortunate that this little temperature was not considered much of a problem to Xiao Yang. His gaze moved back to his body as he involuntarily frowned a little. This six-joint body-flowing ruler is indeed not as easy to practice as I expected. Xiao Yang shook his head and softly sighed. Of course, Xiao Yang, who was dissatisfied with this training speed of his, was unaware that being able to practice the six-joint body-flowing ruler to such an extent within these short 15 days was something was extremely difficult to achieve. Even with Xiao Yang's training talent, should he not have already used a heavy ruler to begin with, found the perfect training location, and had the teaching of the spiritual imprint, this would not have been possible. After all, regardless of how one put it, this was a DI class Do skill. If one could master it so easily, it would appear somewhat childish. One could just guess this by thinking of just how much Xiao Yang has suffered in order to practice the DI class low-level flame-splitting tsunami. Xiao Yang returned the heavy ruler in his hand to his storage ring. His toes pressed on the magma, and a pair of crystal-clear bone wings extended out. They were flapped and his body flashed above the magma, and flew to the cave on the mountain wall. It had already been half a month since Xiao Yang had entered this magma world. During this half a month, he had basically not taken even half a step out. He would only occasionally head to the hole and report to the elder, who was standing guard, in order to avoid them thinking that he had met some mishap below. Half a month of tireless training where food and sleep were forgotten might be bitter and lonely, but the effects were extremely obvious. Currently, the Do Qi in Xiao Yang's body was becoming increasingly rich. According to his senses, he had already gradually moved toward the level of a 6-star Do Huang. Moreover, he did not know whether it was because of the fire affinity energy being exceptionally pure or what, but Xiao Yang had discovered that the Do Qi within his body seemed to have become much hotter. Of course, he had also obtained the reward of becoming even more familiar with the six-joint body-flowing ruler. Although he currently could not be considered to have mastered it, at the very least he was much better now than when he had begun practicing it. Xiao Yang endured the waves of aches all over his body as he entered the cave. He immediately sat cross-legged and swiftly entered his training state. During this period of training, he had discovered that each time he practiced the six-joint body-flowing ruler, the absorption rate of his body would be exceptionally high. He could even faintly hear his cells, bones, veins, muscles, and his many organs emit waves of hungry voices when the powerful fire affinity energy entered his body. The advancement in his strength caused Xiao Yang to go through a kind of loneliness that was difficult to endure. Currently, he was about to head to the central plains where experts gathered, a place where dragons and tigers hid. It was not the Black Corner region, and it was not the Jioma Empire. In these two places, Xiao Yang might be able to rely on his current strength to survive. At that place, however, he would not be able to survive. Moreover, attempting to obtain the top 10 in the so-called pill gathering held by the Pill Tower was not an easy matter. After all, being the gold-plated alchemist gathering for the entire Do Chi continent meant countless of medicine-refining geniuses would gather at the stage named Pill Gathering. Wanting to stand out from people who possessed shocking alchemist talent was impossible unless one had some genuine ability. During this period of time, the unknown summoning intent also appeared even more frequently. This caused Xiao Yang to feel doubtful. Currently, he was certain that there was indeed some mysterious item deep within the magma calling to the fallen heart flame in his body. Although he was certain, Xiao Yang did not dare to act recklessly. This magma world might be completely silent, but Xiao Yang faintly felt a dangerous aura from within it. He had basically spent this period of time training in this area, afraid that he would be unable to flee should any unexpected change occur. Bang. The enormous magma fire wave heavily crashed down, before finally carrying a loud noise that reverberated within this space. The naked Xiao Yang was standing within this fire wave. The heavy ruler in his hand danced while his face appeared solemn. Under the orbit of the profound dancing, a continuous ruler figure surfaced around his body. It appeared like a dragnet that completely wrapped around his body. The magma that came smashing over would be gently pushed aside by the force contained in the ruler's figure. Looking from a distance, it appeared as though there was a whirlpool being created by the ruler figure within the fire wave. The magma that scattered down would be shot aside when it made contact with the ruler figure whirlpool. The dense defense, where even wind could not penetrate, did indeed show something worthy of being praised. Xiao Yang, whose ruler was dancing within the fire wave, abruptly correlated his eyes. A soft cry erupted from the tip of his tongue, and his hand suddenly paused on the heavy ruler. The heavy ruler vibrated swiftly the instant the ruler figure defense disappeared, and a couple of after images appeared one after another, raging flames. The cry resounded over the magma world. Two 400-foot-tall fire glows crossed each other as they exited the heavy ruler. They were like a somewhat crude ruler web that shot out. The powerful strength that erupted at that instant tore apart the heavy magma wave in front of it. Bang. The magma that shot in all directions suddenly fell, creating a great magma flow. Faint circular, jade-green flames spread from Xiao Yang's body, blocking the magma flow. A joy surged into Xiao Yang's eyes as he faced this boiling magma. Being able to unleash the raging flame of the six-joint body-flowing ruler meant that he could be considered to have an initial mastery. This achievement was obtained in less than a month. Such speed was considered extremely fast. It was likely that even Xiao Yang himself had never expected this. Xiao Yang inhaled a deep breath of hot air, parted his lips and smiled. He was just about to return to the cave to rest when his expression suddenly changed. Almost instantly, he lowered his head in an abrupt manner and stared intently at the bottomless magma sea. Earlier, the deep region of the magma had emitted another summon. Moreover, the summoning strength this time around was stronger than any other time. Below just what is there? Why is it able to cause the fallen heart flame to react so much? Xiao Yang's eyes flickered. His expression also changed a little. He had become full of curiosity because of the unknown summoning during this period of time. However, he was unwilling to randomly investigate due to his cautiousness. Today, however, he was somewhat interested. Perhaps there would be some unexpected things below. This time, he shall take the risk once. Historical according to his prediction, one must require at least the strength of a Do Zone class if one wanted to enter the bottom of this magma. An ordinary Do Huang, or someone without powerful Do Chi, would likely have their fortune hang in the balance if they were to head down. Of course, Xiao Yang was an exception. This was the place where the fallen heart flame was born. With him being the current owner of the fallen heart flame, it would be much easier for him to move about. Xiao Yang waved his hand as he stood on the magma while deep in thought. The heavy Xian ruler once again appeared in his hand. After which, he swung his sleeve and the heavy ruler transformed into a black-colored figure that shot out. Finally, it smashed violently into the wall. The powerful strength caused the heavy ruler to penetrate a couple of feet into the mountain wall. Xiao Yang had added a thread of spiritual strength to the heavy ruler. This would be his signpost. His sight under the magma would be extremely blurry. No one knew if it was deep or shallow. The magma was also extremely dense. Moreover, its size was incomparably vast. If one were to randomly explore it, who knew exactly how one would return to the surface of the magma? Under chaos, one might travel increasingly further from the signpost. Even if anything went wrong, Xiao Yang would be able to quickly and accurately find a route and save his life. After doing all of this, Xiao Yang finally relaxed. He inhaled a breath of air as a jade-green flame slowly surged out. Finally, it wrapped all around his body. From a distance, it was as though he was a cluster of burning jade-green flames. Historical, the appearance of this wisp of flame suddenly caused the place to become hot and bright. After which, the flame shifted slightly before aiming at a deep region of magma. Finally, it actually began to swiftly fall without control. This sudden, unexpected change caused Xiao Yang to be slightly startled. His eyes changed before he clenched his fist, moved his body, and swiftly followed it. It seemed that the deep parts of the magma did have something that was summoning the fallen heart flame. What caused Xiao Yang to feel doubtful, however, was the reason for him not having such a feeling when he captured the flame back then. Xiao Yang's body turned into a jade-green fire figure that carried some doubt in its heart. He became like a fish entering the sea as he penetrated the viscous magma. An invisible flame was visible a couple of meters in front of him, acting like a guide. Xiao Yang knew very little about this magma sea. The only thing that he knew was that this place seemed to be the place where the fallen heart flame was born. He was completely unaware about whether this magma sea possessed anything. Of course, it was likely that even First Elder Su Qian did not have much of an understanding regarding this magma field hidden under the Inner Academy. In the past, this place was the residence of the fallen heart flame. The Inner Academy's experts were thinking of all ways to seal the hole in order to avoid it breaking the seal and escaping. Hence, it was natural that no one would take the initiative to enter it. After Xiao Yang had subdued the fallen heart flame, First Elder Su Qian had come down here once. However, after seeing this endless magma, he turned around and left with some fear. After all, he was not Xiao Yang. Although he possessed the strength of someone at the Dozone class, he still appeared exceptionally small when faced with this kind of underground magma world that had been formed by nature after a countless number of years. Hence, he could only stay his exploration mindset as he swiftly left. Therefore, no one was able to give Xiao Yang any information regarding this magma world. He would have to rely on himself. The vast magma was bright red. The swiftly descending jade-green fire figure within this bright red magma world appeared to be exceptionally eye-catching. This place remained a bright red world. It did not appear to be the end of the magma sea. This was because there was still dark red magma under Xiao Yang's feet. If one were to look carefully, one would faintly see a dark blackness within it that caused one to be afraid. It would never allow anyone to know just what thing existed at the end of it. Xiao Yang swept his gaze around, and some doubt was involuntarily revealed within his eyes. Not the slightest bit of unusualness was present in this place. Could it be the unknown summoning was emitted from this place? While Xiao Yang was in doubt, the cluster of fallen heart flame in front of Xiao Yang floated slowly. After which, a faint fiery glow scattered down from it. This fire glow was like a lamp post that shone on the magma not far away. Immediately, a strange scene appeared. One could only see that the magma was actually wiggling. After which, a transparent light circle that emitted a faint glow surfaced from the magma swirl. This sudden change had caused the Do Qi within Xiao Yang's body to be maneuvered on top of causing him to be surprised. He had already decided that he would immediately turn around and flee if any sudden change occurred. A person who was able to create such a mysterious scene within the magma was definitely not someone whom he could contend with. Fleeing was the most rational choice. Xiao Yang's anxious gaze studied the scene below as though he were facing a great enemy. The faint transparent light circle had completely appeared within the magma. Xiao Yang's gaze had also swept over it at the first opportunity. Due to the light circle being transparent, it did not hinder Xiao Yang's gaze. However, when his gaze swept over, it immediately caused Xiao Yang to be stunned. His eyes was filled with shock and disbelief. This was because there was nothing within the light circle other than a body that had long been turned into a skeleton. The size of the skeleton was massive. Due to it always being surrounded by magma, the bones were completely white and emitted a faint glow. The thing that caused Xiao Yan to be shocked was not the bones, but a flame that was drifting on top of them. The flame was transparent, appearing much like an invisible item. 1 to 2 fire seedlings would occasionally leap out. The surrounding magma seemed to be extremely afraid of it. Once the fire seedling expanded and shrank, a circular whiteness formed around the bones. Other people might feel that this thing was somewhat foreign, but Xiao Yan was unusually familiar with it. That was because this flame was the fallen heart flame. Moreover, Xiao Yan could tell from a glance that the transparent flame within the light circle was not some heart flame. Instead, it was a genuine fallen heart flame. In other words, the thing that had appeared in front of Xiao Yang was actually another fallen heart flame. At this moment, Xiao Yang's mind involuntarily felt giddy. How could the same place possess two of the same heavenly flame? Moreover, who did that mysterious skeleton belong to? The hot breeze arrived suddenly. At the crucial moment, Xiao Yang displayed his somewhat frightening retaliation strength. One could see a silver glow flashing under his feet, as his body twisted into a strange arc and the breeze passed by just above Xiao Yang's shoulder. The hot wind caused a fiery pain to be transmitted from his shoulder. Xiao Yang's body trembled after dodging the attack. He swiftly withdrew. While doing so, he turned his body around, and he looked in the direction where the wind originated. His face once again became stunned. There was an enormous 10-meter red-colored figure swimming within the magma. Its color was similar to that of the surrounding magma. If one did not observe carefully, it would be difficult to discover it. Moreover, the crimson body was covered with red scales, and its 5-foot-long red scaly tail swung slightly. The red figure stood with both legs, but its legs were unusually large. Its head was also rounded and covered with tiny scales. A pair of tiny eyes emitted a faint fierceness. Its large mouth was parted slightly, revealing densely packed sharp teeth. From the appearance of this thing, it seemed that it was a lizard that could walk on 2 legs. From its outer appearance, this mysterious red-colored figure was clearly not a human. Instead, it was a kind of mysterious living being. Xiao Yang was completely unaware of just what kind of living creature it was, since he had never seen anything that could live in magma in the past. Xiao Yang sighed in relief after discovering that the other party was not a human. However, he did not release the cautiousness within his heart. He had not sensed even the slightest aura during this journey. Yet, this mysterious living creature had unleashed an attack at him without him even sensing it. Clearly, it was quite strong. Moreover, the latter had the home ground advantage. If Xiao Yang did not act carefully, he might really end up failing when he least expected to. You are seeking death. Xiao Yang's eyes turned slightly cold as he saw the magma creature charging over once again. He suddenly waved his sleeves and a jade-green, do-chi pillar spat out of his palm. After which, it violently smashed into the magma creature, forcing it to withdraw over 10 meters. Only then did it hiss and stabilize its body. However, after being taught an initial lesson, a crimson, wild violence immediately surged into the eyes of this magma creature. It widened its large mouth, that was covered with sharp teeth, and the surrounding magma immediately flowed in swiftly. Finally, it transformed into a foot-long magma ball that launched at Xiao Yang like a cannonball. Killing intent surged within Xiao Yang's heart when he saw that this thing was going to continue pestering him. He widened his palm before suddenly clenching it. One could see the magma fireball swiftly shooting over. Then, its speed was reduced before it finally turned into a pile of magma that split apart when it was still a couple of meters from Xiao Yang. It returned to the magma sea around it. The mysterious magma being became furious after seeing that Xiao Yang had once again resolved its attack. It repeatedly emitted a GG sound from its large mouth before widening and closing it. Numerous head-sized magma balls were swiftly spat out and repeatedly shot at Xiao Yang. The life within the magma being's eyes also swiftly scattered. Xiao Yang coldly looked at this gradually stiffening magma being before he slowly withdrew his hand. His feet were about to withdraw from the body of the magma being when a thought suddenly passed through his heart. He fiddled with the interior of the body with his hand. When he finally withdrew it, there was a bright red bead in it. Xiao Yang's hand was void of even the slightest amount of fresh blood after being withdrawn from the body of the magma being. All it had was a kind of grease. The bright red bead flickered and emitted a faint hotness. Xiao Yang studied this bright red bead somewhat curious. Surprise immediately flashed across his eyes. He discovered that there seemed to be a powerful fire affinity energy contained within the bead. This should be something that is similar to the monster core within a magical beast. However, this thing is a rarely seen tonic for a person who practices fire affinity energy. Unfortunately, its energy is far too wild and violent and cannot be consumed directly. Otherwise, it would be similar to some high-tier medicinal pill. Xiao Yang's eyes were filled with surprise. If others intended to absorb this thing, they would have to use other things to resolve the wild violence within. However, it was not too much trouble for Xiao Yang, who possessed a heavenly flame. Hence, he could consume and absorb this thing. However, what caused him to feel somewhat regretful was that there was only one of this bead. The effect of it would not be too great. All he would accomplish was a loss of a couple days' worth of training. Xiao Yang sighed regretfully. He held the bright red bead in his hand as his gaze once again shot into that transparent light circle. However, his expression suddenly changed. His gaze was immediately thrown to the west of the bright red magma. An intense commotion had suddenly been transmitted from that direction. Xiao Yang's gaze stared intently at the area where the magma ripple originated. Do Qi within his body was ready to move. His face was solemn. This magma world was indeed filled with danger. Within a couple of short blinks, the 100 red-colored figures flashed and rushed over before finally surrounding Xiao Yang. Their eyes were fierce and violent as they stared intently at the bright red bead in Xiao Yang's hand. Xiao Yang swiftly stored the bead in his storage ring in front of the focus of so many fire lizard eyes. It seemed that these fellows had been summoned by the lizard person from earlier, just before it died. It was unexpected that there was such a large number of beings living under this magma that Xiao Yang had not noticed in the past. The jade-green flame on the surface of Xiao Yang's body became denser, while his eyes revealed a cautiousness, as they slowly swept over the lizard people. These lizard people seemed to be quite afraid of the glazed lotus heart flame. Hence, they merely surrounded Xiao Yang, but did not immediately charge forward to tear him into pieces. This stalemate did not last for very long, before it was broken by the unwillingness of the fire lizard people. Their eyes were bright red while a sharp ear-piercing GG sound was emitted from their mouths. Finally, they parted the magma and charged at Xiao Yang in a lightning-like manner. Xiao Yang's expression changed a little as many lizard people surrounded and attacked him. His hands tightened. Sharp palm winds that carried some heat were formed as he attacked, making intense ripples within the magma. These attacks smashed precisely into the many red-colored figures that came charging over. There were many of these lizard people. Moreover, they knew how to control the strength of the magma. Even if an ordinary expert at the peak of the Do Wang class were to be surrounded by them, they would be extremely miserable. However, they were not a large threat to Xiao Yang. Each time his palm wind shot out, a hidden force would shatter a lizard person. Hence, there were nearly 20 lizard people who had died to Xiao Yang's hands after exchanging blows for only a couple of minutes. Xiao Yang suddenly clenched his teeth as this thought flashed across his heart. He did not bother with the transparent light barrier anymore. His body moved and fled up. Just when his body had moved for over 10 meters away, an intense ripple was transmitted from above the magma. Immediately, Xiao Yang saw red-colored figures appearing in his sight. Moreover, the thing that caused Xiao Yang's heart to sink was that there was an exceptionally large lizard person at the front of the many red-colored figures. Even Xiao Yang felt some faint pressure when facing this lizard person. Clearly, the strength of this big fellow had far exceeded that of the ordinary lizard people. It is troublesome this time around. This video will end here. Thank you for watching.